everyone, and welcome to another episode of Getting Hammered. I'm your host, Mary Katharine Ham. I am here with my co-host, as always, Vic Matus of the Washington Free Beacon. We have a lot going on today. We got, obviously, an Israel update, and then the very bad reactions to Israel news here on the home front, and some surprisingly good ones. Speaker of the House update, because that one got by us. Those jerks and their bad timing. Some 2024, some debate news coming up. And the viral 9 to 5 gal that we need to talk about. But before we get to that, how are you doing, Vic?
Hello, Mary Katharine. Doing just fine. I drove up to the Garden State over the weekend to bring my father back to hang out with us for a week.
Nice.
Here in Virginia, and having a lovely time, and allows him to sort of just putter around, but in a change of scenery,
nice.
You know, and going up there, I'm calling an audible on myself. I had certain things I want to talk about, but I'm going to tell you something that was perilous, the perilous thing. And if it doesn't work out, we can always edit this out. So
here we go.
I had to bring my son up to his school for a track meet, but it's on the way, or a cross-country meet. So it's on the way on the Beltway. And, and I figured, okay, I'm just going to keep on going. It was early morning on Saturday. I'm going to keep on going to Jersey. By the time I brought him there, I was like, I think I kind of have to probably use the bathroom, drinking coffee and stuff, but doors are locked. Doors are locked. I said, fine. It's not an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be fine. So I get on the road, and it turns out where we were, you could only connect to 495 south, but not north. At that part, you're at 270. So now I had to actually cave and use Google Maps to get me up north. So then I'm driving up, and I said, okay, well, what is the next rest stop? Oh, wait, it's after Baltimore. That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. I can do this.
I'm a grown-up.
I'm a grown-up. Right. I'm not too old. I can do this. And then once we got to Maryland House, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Just go over the bridge. You know what? Good to get over the bridge. You never know what happens on a bridge. So get over the bridge to Chesapeake. And then I see a sign saying 16 minutes to the Delaware state line. I said, heck, at this point, I might as well go to the Joseph R. Biden
there you go.
rest stop. I got to the Joseph R. Biden rest stop. They're like police cordoning off with motorcycles, some sort of official thing going on. I'm like, you know what? Forget it. Get over the Delaware Memorial Bridge, because as soon as you get into Jersey, right after that first toll, there's, I believe it's James Fenimore Cooper.
Right. You know this whole
I know.
way.
I said, okay, I can do this. Just barely. Now I felt like one of the astronauts in The Right Stuff, because that's one of the tests is how long you can hold it in. I'm like, okay, I'm reaching John Glenn level here.
Mm-hmm.
And I get over the bridge, go through the toll, and I said, okay, I see the rest stop coming. And then I see a bright orange sticker slapped on top. And it says, rest stop closed.
No.
Next rest stop, 36 miles. I was
36?
36 miles. You can't imagine the obscenities I expressed alone in the car.
Well, here's a problem. This is science.
Yeah. I'm calculating in my mind how fast I could go.
Well, no, your brain and your bladder.
Yes.
When they know that you're getting
it starts getting ready.
Yes. And so you flipped that switch in your mind when you thought you were going to hit that rest stop.
Yes. You know what? That's absolutely right. We were just getting ready to, and I'm like 36 miles. If I'm going 60, that's 36 minutes. But if I go faster than that, then maybe it's 15, 20.
Right.
The longest 36 miles of my life, as you can imagine. And I mean, James Fenimore. You know what it was? It was Nathaniel Hawthorne that was closed. James Fenimore Cooper was my target.
That was your savior.
Yes.
Okay.
Talk about Last of the Mohicans. So I make it in there, and I thought for sure.
I'm America.
That's right.
I will make it.
Is that your Daniel Day-Lewis impression?
Thank you.
Wow, that's good. I felt like it was more like Magua, really. And so I made it, but man, oh man, it's just. Don't do this to yourself. And I just want it for our listeners. Why am I talking about this, right? Because this is kind of a personal story.
This is news you can use.
But this is news you can use. And the news is the first rest stop after exit 1 is closed, ladies and gentlemen, listeners. Nathaniel Hawthorne. I believe it's Nathaniel Hawthorne.
I never want to stop. So I sympathize with this predicament.
Oh, yeah, no, you want to get to the point.
I used to go 5 hours from Durham to Athens regularly. I was a younger person then. 5 hours regularly, and just
nope, not
stopping.
You just put yourself in a catatonic state. You just sort of like, nothing's happening, no sensation,
just 85 all the way.
Don't cough. So, but that's
it. To the door. I'm fine. No one talk to me.
But it was otherwise a lovely trip. Everything was fine. And I have to tell you, I so appreciate the prices up there in Jersey. I got a Stromboli from Capone's, and it was $11.99. And in my mind, I'm thinking, that's going to be for one person. You could feed a family for that.
I paid $11 for a breakfast burrito in LA at the airport, so.
I think about the salads we pay $15 for.
Yeah.
$11.99, so God bless the Garden State. Mary Katharine, how are you, and are you all set for trick-or-treating?
I'm good. Look, there's been a lot going on, Vic. I was in California. I came back from California.
Looked lovely.
And that night, I performed, if you'll remember.
Oh, right, of course.
The DC's Funniest Celebrity contest. Guess who won that contest, Vic?
Tell me it's you.
I won that contest.
Do we have the sound effect?
You know what? If I had a brain that worked properly, I would have thought to bring the trophy here and show you guys, but I will bring it as proof later in the week. It's the first time I've ever tried stand-up. Now, I do public speaking regularly, so I'm comfortable on stage.
Yes.
But I do not generally write comedy. My lovely future sister-in-law, who's marrying Steve's brother in December, she does do stand-up, and she's good at it. And I asked her for some tips for writing comedy.
Okay, really briefly, but I think this is something that we're all interested in. What are some of the tips?
So she sent me some stuff from Judy Carter about how to structure jokes. Okay. And it's things that if you have watched any comedy, you would recognize immediately,
all the little
such as a list of 3 that's a subtle thing, a super outrageous thing, or a small thing, a gigantic thing, right? So that the contrast between those things becomes very obvious and very funny, and that's your sort of tension point. Things like that ring a bell for you, but that you had never thought about how those were made.
The mechanics of it, that's very interesting.
Made it much, much easier for me. So I did a little bit of gratuitous Matt Gaetz bashing, including the idea that I had seen him on TV in a black suit, a black dress shirt, and a black tie. And I was like, are we auditioning for John Prick 5, The Battle for the Speakership?
Wow. That's...
So I did a little bit of politics, but I did mostly family and raising kids in a modern world.
Yes.
So I went that direction. And I did about 8 or 9 minutes of...
In your mind,
comedy.
8 or 9 minutes.
Comedy with quotes around it. I'm not sure if I qualify.
Did it feel like longer than 8 or 9 minutes, or was it like it went
So
fast?
It felt different than my normal speaking, because my normal speaking is very go with the flow. Like when you're doing, the expectations are important. When you're doing a political speech or presentation to people who aren't expecting comedy, you make 2 jokes and they're like, she's so funny. Right?
But now.
And in this case, you got to stack joke. You
expectation.
Can't just, yes. Expectation is be funny first. Harder bar to hit. It was very, there were pauses in it for the audience and for making sure that I was like working with everybody and not speeding through. So I think it was probably about 8-ish minutes, which I think is a reasonable amount of time for this. And it was pretty tight. I had jokes.
Did they tell you, is there like a time limit, or it's like, you must perform
they
for
said
X
3 to 5 minutes because we're amateurs. And so they don't want to ask too much of you. But I had things to say, guys.
How was the audience reaction? Did it help?
Yes. I like an audience.
Sure. So do I. You could feed off it.
I did wish, and I now I know why in comedy clubs like the ceiling is low, because this was a bit more of a cavernous room, and I wanted that like little cave with a brick wall and for more laughter to reverberate. That's what I wanted.
Oh yeah, just for the nonetheless,
just for the energy. So I won.
Congratulations.
Okay. So that's the first thing.
Okay.
On Sunday, I ran the Marine Corps Marathon 10K.
That's right. With
my daughter, who is 7.
Running the 6.2.
6.2. We made it. We ran. They were not fast miles, but we did, I would say, between 13 and 15-minute miles the whole time. She ran the whole time.
I could have run with you.
You would have made it, Vic.
Oh, I would have been breaking a sweat.
And she had a great attitude throughout.
Good.
It's a very fun race.
Okay.
We ran it for the Travis Manion Foundation, which I didn't realize until after I had run it and I was going through pictures. The last time I ran the Marine Corps Marathon 10K, for the Travis Manion Foundation was 8 months pregnant with her in 2015, a month after Jake died.
Oh,
so it was really neat to watch her do it.
Yeah,
and
that's amazing.
She got to enjoy all the sights.
That's
and
amazing.
She did the thing that everyone does, which is you're hating the last mile of this course.
Yeah.
And she's like, I have to go up a hill at the end. And I was like, yes, up to Iwo Jima, but there's going to be Marines. They're going to be cheering for you. You're going to hear the music.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, it was a pretty warm day. Sorry to all the marathoners out there. That did not, the 70-degree marathon is not really ideal.
It was very humid.
Out. And we get there. She runs up the hill. She ditched me on the hill. She was like, see ya, Mom. And she like marched up that hill, getting 5s from the Marines.
Oh, that's the
crosses the finish line and says, we got to do this again next year, Mom.
Now, I have
exciting.
logistical questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you start, and then in order to where you finish in terms of like, do you go part of does it start around the same time as the marathon? Does it start earlier, later, or how?
It starts the same time, but it starts at it starts on the National Mall, which
will come
in the
to
marathon,
6 miles.
So in the marathon, yes, that is mile 18 or so.
Okay.
Right? So they start us at mile 18 and we finish at the same finish line, but they're, they still have 18 miles to cover. So it's safe.
Right.
So we finished the race. I didn't tell her that she was getting a medal, and she was very pumped about that. And it's a nice, heavy,
if you don't even know and you
medal.
get that, it's a real thing. It's not,
And she took it to show and tell at school, so that was exciting. And she said to me, and this will give you a little glimpse into our parenting. She goes, hey, Mom, you remember when I played on that soccer team and we didn't really win anything, but I got that medal and Dad took it from me and put it in storage because I didn't earn it? He's going to let me keep this one.
She earned it. She earned it.
That's right, honey. You earned that one.
Congratulations. You know what? A good run for a good cause.
Yeah, she did great. But that's not the end of my stories, Vic. Look,
I was going to say this, by the way, about the marathon. So just a shout out to my brother-in-law's wife. I think that makes her sister-in-law, Erin Dwyer, who ran the Marine
good
Corps
for
marathon.
her.
She finished. Her official time was about 4:25. I think it might be shorter, but she did that, and she said what I heard. Everybody was the weather, like it slowed down everybody.
Yes.
Everything was behind, and the bus came early.
Oh.
Yeah, because they were like, we got to pick this up.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, scary.
The bus picks you up. If you're going too slow, you have to beat the bus. If you're going too slow, the bus will pick you up because they got to close the roads and get everybody off the course.
Yeah,
so
to reopen
that's
the
what
bridges.
happens.
So they said it came early, and a lot of people were like, sorry.
Oh, my goodness. Well, congratulations to her.
Yes.
A 4:20's time is fantastic, especially on that warm day.
Yes.
All right.
So what else do you got?
I got more. Look,
what else do you got?
It's a big week in our family. This is always a big week in our family. Saturday, we went to a Halloween costume party. Halloween/costume party.
Same costume?
No, Vic. Of course not.
I'd wear, if I had your costume, I'd just wear that for at least 2 or 3 years.
No, do I double up? No, I do not. No, I do not. So, you'll remember we went as Robin Hood and Maid Marian.
Yes, the anime, the Disney.
So we went in a completely different direction on this one. This is, by the way, Megan McCain and Ben Dominich's party, which is a blast. Mm-hmm. And we got dressed up as Holly and John McClane from Die Hard.
Okay, Steve, I can picture what he's doing. Did he duct tape a gun to his back?
So
that would be very
we
funny.
thought about that because
Did he go
there's
barefoot?
two different scenes. He did go barefoot.
Amazing.
There are two different scenes, and we put fake cuts on his feet. There are two different scenes in Die Hard that you can do. You can do the I know this is a problematic word now, but the wife beater tank top.
Yes.
With the stains all over it, and the walkie-talkie and the guns, or you can do shirtless with a taped gun on the back. And we decided that shirtless with a taped gun might be gratuitous for this party.
But you know what? He would have stood out.
He could pull it off.
He could pull it off, and of course, he's in better shape than Bruce Willis was.
Well, so he looked the part. Now, this, of course, means
the hair is the same.
He looks very handsome and tough, but I have to dress.
Yeah, it's like a business outfit.
Yeah, I have to dress as an 80s businesswoman. So I had like a blousy black skirt, a giant oversized pink blazer with a big belt, and then I put my hair in like old school perm rollers.
Yes.
For the entire day, so that when it came down, it was just curly and a big helmet around my head.
Did you wear a fancy watch?
You know what? I didn't.
Yeah.
I should.
The watch.
Oh,
The watch
now
is
that you
it.
say that.
Yeah, the watch is.
He's called me out. The Rolex was missing. I
Yes.
did not have a Rolex sitting
Did you?
around.
You know,
for this event.
I could have played the buddy Ellis. That was
Hans.
good. Hear that sniff? That's my sniff. That's my
Hans,
Coke
Bubby.
sniff. Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, I'm almost done.
No,
You know what?
okay,
Look,
yeah,
here's what
okay.
we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Here's what we're gonna do because we should get to some news.
Yeah, we do.
But I got Halloween costumes
it's
to
early
talk
in the
about.
Week. It's early in the week. Okay, so yes.
I got Halloween costumes to talk about. We'll
Great
circle back
costume.
to it.
Amazing.
This is gonna be
I don't
the
know how you
tease.
pick these outfits.
Next up, you'll find out by the end of this podcast what we're going to be for Halloween, and then you'll see those
Okay.
pictures online. But before that, let's do some news, shall we?
Let's do it.
I'm excited about this week, guys. Halloween week is always big in our family. Oh, and the dogs beat the gators, so there's that. Okay. That's the most important news flash. But let's talk about Israel.
Okay.
The ground incursion has begun.
It has begun.
The reaction to said defense of Israel against Hamas, a terrorist organization who wants to end the Jewish people and the Jewish state, is disappointing in the West, to say the least. We did finally get an acknowledgement from the squad. This is Congresswoman Cori Bush, right? The community notes really help on this one. But let me read what she tweeted this week. This month, I co-sponsored a resolution condemning Hamas for hostage-taking and urging their immediate release. We must ensure the safe return of all hostages and the protection of Palestinian and Israeli civilians. Now, you'll remember that the squad did put forth a resolution. That resolution did not include condemning Hamas or mentioning
it did not
that they should release hostages. So I think that's just what do we call that? A lie? Is that a lie?
Yeah, retconning, is that the term?
The community notes say before October 30th, Cori Bush did not publicly condemn Hamas. She urged for a ceasefire, sought aid for Gaza while opposing U.S. aid to Israel, stating that it was the cause of the Hamas attacks.
You sometimes wonder if, God forbid, an American hostage was one of her constituents. How hard would she lobby to get that hostage out? You know, suppose it was a Jewish constituent who happened to be, working on a kibbutz or being at the kibbutz at the time when that person is kidnapped. How hard would she lobby? That's a pretty scary thought. My other thought is, are they surprised by the pushback against? Because they've been happily, protesting against Israel for quite some time now, right? And unopposed, right?
Right.
They just let them do this. I mean, some people, even in their own party, in their own caucus, will complain, but a number of those, Jewish Democrats are not even there anymore in Congress, as you know. But I sometimes wonder if they're surprised, and I'm sure in their mind they're surprised by the power of the Jewish lobby.
Yeah.
That's in their mind. That's what it is. Not that, oh, wow, I didn't realize this was anti-Semitism.
These neocons are really coming out of the woodwork here, is what they think. So there was a very frightening scene in Dagestan in Russia where the word got out that a flight was landing from Israel. And the videos of this chaos at the airport with people showing up to hunt down the Jewish passengers on this plane is incredibly frightening. The AP framed this in one of the early stories as a protest against the Israeli flight. It did not. It was not a protest. It's another P word. Yeah, a pogrom, which is specifically Jewish-focused lynch mob. What was happening.
It was yet another example of, and I know this was CNN and not the AP, but a fiery but mostly peaceful demonstration. And I saw that. It's but they've been, the media has been terrible about this all along. For example, the photo of kidnapped Israeli children being held by Hamas, and the word that they used was detained. Detained. And it just goes all across the board, and until we have to call them out. Right. We shouldn't have to, but this is what we do.
Well, and you gotta keep it up, which is why we highlight these things or low light these things, as it were. At the Yale student newspaper, one of the head editors actually is a Jewish American. Mm-hmm. She wrote a piece condemning Hamas for its atrocities and supporting Israel. Yes. She's very brave. Her name is Sahar Tartak, and she's a sophomore. Mm-hmm. And there's an editor's note on her piece
Yep.
that says this column has been edited to remove unsubstantiated claims that Hamas raped women and beheaded men. So
first, I want to urge our listeners to go to freebeacon.com because we just published her, Ms. Tartak's response
good.
In the Beacon about what happened. And she was away, and I think she was at synagogue at the time, and she was happy to be away from when all this, these violent and very anti-Semitic rallies were happening everywhere. And then she finds out that the editor's note was put in place. They didn't go to her and ask her about this. And the question is, what does it take to prove to these people that this thing happened? Number one, they celebrated that it happened on October 8th.
They live streamed it, guys.
Yeah. From the bodies of Hamas terrorists, they're now getting cell phone videos as well as those third eye cameras. And they're finding out from a lot of Israelis that the victims, their families were getting videos using the victims' phones, showing them being tortured and murdered and sending that to the families. That's all real. But something tells me that even if you were to sit these people down, like the editor-in-chief at the Yale Daily News, to have them watch any of these things, they would say, number one, I'm not going to do that. This is disgusting. And number two, it's fake, or it's just propaganda, or one or the other. But I don't think there is anything at this point we can do to convince these people.
No, it's
that
important
this awful thing
that for
has
like
happened.
Kavanaugh allegations, you need zero
Oh,
physical evidence, and for live streamed terrorist atrocities, you need every single bit of physical evidence that you can muster, and even then it's not enough. I should correct myself real quick. She is the editor-in-chief of the Yale Free Press, which is the alternative conservative newspaper, not the Daily News, where she was contributing a guest op-ed there. At Cornell, which has a very high Jewish population, the Cornell Hillel became aware of a threatening statement that was directed toward the building at 104 West, which houses the university's kosher and multicultural dining hall, as well as more generally toward Jewish students, faculty, and staff. Cornell University administration has been made aware of this concerning language, and the Cornell Police Department is monitoring the situation. At this time, in 2023, on a college campus, we advise that students and staff avoid the building out of an abundance of caution. We will continue to provide updates as additional information becomes available. Now, this is the Hillel letting people know this. This is not the administration.
Right.
I know they're being safe, but there's been several incidents now where Jewish people have been told to stay away from things and or not show their faces in public. For instance, in Brooklyn this weekend, where folks said, there's going to be a pro-Palestinian / pro-Hamas rally out here. So in this very heavily Hasidic neighborhood, so maybe don't come outside.
Hide is what they're saying. And I know that our friends over at the Commentary Podcast, particularly my old boss, John Podhoretz, was in a state about this because the message should not be to hide, just like the advice for people, for Jews to remove, if you have the mezuzah right outside your door, put it on the inside, again, hide your faith. This is religious persecution in 2023 in the United States. And the term that they used, particularly in the Cornell case, was out of an abundance of caution, which is also very COVID speak.
I know. I don't love that phrase.
No.
Our friend Carol Markowitz, who writes for the New York Post, is Jewish. Her husband is Israeli-American. She wrote sometime in the past couple of weeks that you have a choice. You can hide your Jewishness as you go about your daily life because there are indeed real credible threats, or you can wear a Star of David the size of a dinner plate. And she's like, go with dinner plate. Yeah, this is what's
happening. As the Israeli delegation at the United Nations has decided to do that because, of course, the UN is not going to issue a condemnation, not of the situation broadly in Palestine. We're not talking about Palestinians. We're talking about Hamas.
Yeah, the condemnation of Hamas went down.
Yes, that went down. But of course, what they're trying to do is push for a ceasefire. Of course. Yeah. Which is it always works out after they commit the slaughter of like 1,500 Jews. Then they can say ceasefire.
Then we want a ceasefire.
Right. And again, I mean, I always bring this up now, but it's just it's the same thing with the rallying cry of end the occupation. What occupation? They haven't been there since 2005.
The UN is such trash.
It is awful.
By the way, they have land in Manhattan. You know how expensive that
Yeah,
land is? You
and
know what Donald Trump could do with that land?
On Turtle Bay, right?
They have land in New York.
Yeah.
We pay them a bunch of dues. We have all our
Right.
diplomats visiting there. And then we have the Iranian guy come and
The foreign minister.
right,
yeah,
come
Abdullah
and
Hanian.
threaten our country.
Yeah.
By the way, they're already hitting soldiers and targets
Yeah.
in foreign countries. He comes to our soil to threaten us.
Right.
And we're just subsidizing it, not just with the pallets of cash we give Iran, which is one thing, but subsidizing his appearance at the UN
Right.
dais.
And their human
What are we
rights
doing?
and their Human Rights Council is going to have Iran as the head of it.
Oh, it's a beautiful
shortly.
thing.
So I mean, it's amazing, but that's okay. It's okay to have them there.
That's this is the world order.
No, I mean it's
Vic.
just it's so disturbing the amount of the fear that pervades. Just for all, particularly the Jewish community, but for all of us. And I'm thinking to myself, it's not just Crown Heights, right? I mean, we were just talking about Cornell and Cooper Union is another one.
Cooper Union
right?
was horrifying.
Or outside of Tulane. And these are schools. Cornell is, your tuition there is like $66,000 a year. It's Ivy League, and this is what you're paying for.
These schools, by the way, the very least they can do, and I think I've said this before, the very least they can do, and it's an easy decision. You don't have to parse whose speech is freer or anything like that, or whose speech is beyond the pale. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is keep your students safe by enforcing the rules you have on the book against threats, violence, vandalism, and shouting down other people's speech. Those things are not free expression.
Right.
And you can enforce the rules against them, but they don't. They are cowards.
You know what's harmful was Judge Kyle Duncan going to Stanford.
No, that was very harmful.
Very harmful.
In fact, I believe in the Free Beacon as well.
Yes.
Aaron Savarium has been writing about the fact that they, of course, gave a slot on the advisory council to pick a new dean of this school to one of the leaders of the shout down, quote unquote, protest.
They have the administrators.
Good job, guys.
Right. They let. I don't know how much they realized it at the time that they let in all these students and administrators who really hate Jews.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Or
and
certainly
it's been 20
Israel,
years working
right?
on
and
it.
They say this because I know a lot of these groups,
Israel.
consist of like what is it, Jewish Voice for Peace or something like that.
You know
but,
what? I will say in these protests, I haven't seen a ton of references to the Knesset or its specific policies.
Exactly. The anti-Zionism is the anti-Semitism.
Can we hear a little? You love to hear it.
Oh yeah, crazy.
From none other than Hillary Clinton.
People who are calling for a ceasefire now do not understand Hamas. That is not possible. It would be such a gift to Hamas because they would spend whatever time there was a ceasefire in effect rebuilding their armaments, creating stronger positions to be able to fend off an eventual assault by the Israelis. So we're in a very different world. I don't think it had to be the world we're in, but that's where we are, and we've got to figure our way forward through it.
Good for her.
I wonder if the audience did not know what to make of that.
Like, wait a second.
No, but I mean, I think she had been reliably.
Yes.
I mean,
No,
but this is a different world. Keep in mind, this is, I remember in 2008, she and Barack Obama were both asked, do they support gay marriage? And they both said no.
Yeah,
from a different universe.
But this is a rational take. You can't just allow Hamas to dig in and do exactly what it wants to do again, right? That would be
Why would
the
you
cost
keep it?
of a ceasefire.
It's like going all the way to Berlin and keeping the Nazi regime intact and saying, okay, actually, just leave the hierarchy.
While I'm at it, yet another shout out to Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, who has been incredibly solid on this and continues to stand in solidarity with the hostages by posting their pictures outside his office on Capitol Hill.
I keep on wondering if Rashida Tlaib's going to walk across.
She's the one walking by
walk across
from
from the
down.
House over to the Senate office building and then just tear it down.
I should note, by the way, I was on my friend Allison Rosen's podcast nice. When I was in LA, and it came out this week. Allison Rosen is Your New Best Friend is the name of that podcast. It is not catchy. A political podcast. We talk about my latest childbirth experience. We talk about makeup and hair and all sorts of silly things. But we also got into the tearing down of the posters and how disheartening and monstrous it is to watch people do that. And we need to continue to talk about that and stick up for the people who are still stuck in
There's no
Hamas
mention of that.
territory.
There's no mention about who's caring for the babies. You know,
I think about that
I know.
9-month-old every day.
Right, and the question is, why are they taking it down because they don't believe it's real? Are they taking it down because they support the kidnapping of the babies, or are they kidnapping because they know what? Are they taking it down because they know it's awful and it's only going to help the other side?
Right, like it's an inconvenient truth.
Yes.
This happened. Yeah,
So-
I think that might be some of it. All of the reasons are bad reasons.
Yeah.
I do want to note on this front, because I always like to end this segment with a little
Yeah.
bit of uplifting news.
Please.
This is from the New York Times. The Israeli military said on Monday that it had rescued an Israeli soldier who was
Yeah.
abducted from an Israeli army base on October 7th and taken to Gaza during the Hamas-led terrorist attacks in Israel. The soldier, Private Ori Megadish, 19, was rescued between late Sunday night and early Monday morning during the military's ongoing invasion of Gaza, according to a military spokesman. He declined to say where exactly she had been held, but said she was in good physical and mental health. She has been reunited with her family.
Yeah.
There are parades and cars honking and dancing in the streets of all secular Jews and religious Jews together over this beautiful restoration of life. And I'm so happy to hear good news. I assumed that she might be the very last one returned if we get to that point, because she is actually a combatant, right?
Yeah.
She's in the IDF. So it's such wonderful news to hear this.
I'll give you another positive note to end on here. Miss Israel. Oh, she represented Israel in Miss Universe. And
Israel, famous for its mediocre looking
yes,
people.
yeah, Gal Gadot, nothing special. And what is her name? Bar.
I know who you're talking about. Former flame of
Yes.
Leonardo.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, well, there we go. I'll have to fix that one up there. In any event, Miss Israel, she gave her own sort of speech, and it starts off with her wearing the sash and being very silly and talking about, how we're all supposed to aim as representing in the Miss Universe pageant, world peace. And then it suddenly flips, and there she is in her fatigues and holding it.
Oh, we love to
And
see that.
It is a hot message.
Hi, I'm Noah Kochva. I am Miss Israel. Everybody knows that beauty queen goal in life is to achieve world peace. Let me tell you how this goal became my reality.
A hot message of solidarity
A hot message of solidarity.
in
That's
this
what I meant.
righteous fight.
That's what I meant. Sign me up. That's what I said.
Well, it's good to hear both of those pieces of good news as this story goes on. Shall we do a tiny little bit of Speaker of the House? Okay.
Okay.
Look,
explain. Do you want to explain what happened? You kind of did. Did you add a footnote?
we
to the last
added a little
episode?
bit,
Okay.
but can I just say
We did
that
it
of
on,
course, because the one time I have to record on Wednesday instead of Thursday, and so we're losing a news day. The one time this happens, of course, they elect a speaker an hour after we're done.
It was going on for 3 weeks, Mary Katharine. What's another couple days, right? That's what we thought.
That's what we thought.
In fact, we ended the curse.
But it turns out, yes,
So
that we
you're,
do have.
you're welcome, America.
Yeah, we do have Speaker Mike Johnson now of Louisiana. As I noted last week, it seems that he won largely due to the fact that there aren't a lot of people who hate his guts. So that is
Yeah.
a start.
Yeah.
Right? He seems like, honestly, just like Christian dad guy.
Yeah.
Is what he...
He was fourth. He was, I think, fourth in line among the Republicans in the House, I think.
VBS guy.
He was like a deputy.
is what he seems
Yeah.
like to me. He is, from what I've heard about him talking with folks, he's a teetotaler. He's a Baptist man.
Okay. Well,
so he
that's-
can't.
Yeah,
he's
no,
not going to be shoulder to
okay,
shoulder with Vic at the Palm.
He just lost points with me. Okay, go ahead.
But he wants to undertake this role he had, which is a rare quality. He had a plan that he pitched about what we could get on the calendar and what the House could accomplish. And now he's ready with his first volley in his speakership, which is to suggest that we fund Israel defense and that it might come at the cost of new IRS agents.
Yeah. That's a win-win. The key is that the Matt Gaetz 8, if you will, cut him some slack, because while he may have a lot in common with them, and certainly his congressional district voted for Donald Trump by double digits, he's now about to enter the world where compromise is necessary to govern.
Yes.
And he knows that. What should not have surprised us, but yet again disappoints me, is the media reaction to him, you know, and all the warnings that this is the most conservative right-wing speaker of the House we will ever have.
The drama.
Because, you know, they never said anything like this about Newt Gingrich. And for Mike Johnson.
Well, it's so odd. Nancy Pelosi's far leftness was never.
No. She was right in the middle.
Hung around her neck.
Nancy Pelosi was in the middle, and Mike Johnson's way out there.
Way
on the
out
right.
there.
And the New York Times explained because, you know, he is anti-abortion. He opposes same-sex marriage. And, yeah.
So he's a Christian.
Stuff. Yeah, basically.
Which is
no, and of course,
which makes him American Taliban.
He is being I mean, no joke. They use the word Taliban. He's being compared. They say that he's like a Christian Taliban. He's a Christian fundamentalist.
Come on.
And he was even compared to the main shooter. Hearing voices.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's where
I disagree with him on some issues, no doubt.
Yeah.
But these are ridiculous charges.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad that we have a functioning House for the time being.
Yeah, let's just get something done.
All right, we'll see what happens. Who knows if Democrats will not go for that IRS thing, but look, it's a moment to say this is what we value. We value protecting free countries and free peoples and from extermination, who are our greatest allies. And you guys like more IRS agents to go through people's Venmos. So those are our differing sets of values,
priorities,
and let's test those. Let's weigh those. Okay. Speaking of weighing values, we have 2024 news.
Oh yeah.
We have a debate coming up next week. Did you know that?
I was just reminded of it at our editorial meeting this morning, and I nodded along like, yes, of course.
Of course I knew that. That it is in Miami.
Yeah, I already DVR'd it. Okay.
So it's an NBC News
Oh, right, which
event.
is a big deal.
So it's Kirsten Walker, who's the new Meet the Press anchor, and Hugh Hewitt.
Oh, yeah, our friend.
Who, yes. And Hugh, by the way, get ready, candidates, because Hugh asks not easy questions.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have real knowledge, and he also knows the base. So he will know what questions to ask that might elicit the answers that they are interested in. So that's happening. I'm not sure exactly who's made it on stage at this point.
Right.
But I do know, and we have a clip of it, that Mike Pence has left the race.
Yes, and now, you know how you say, and then there were 2. Well, and then there were 9.
Can we play a little bit of Mike Pence?
I just couldn't sit this one out. But the Bible tells us that there's a time for every purpose under heaven. And traveling across the country over the past 6 months, I came here to say it's become clear to me this is not my time. So after much prayer and deliberation, I have decided to suspend my campaign for president effective today. Now, I'm leaving this campaign, but let me promise you, I will never leave the fight for conservative values, and I will never stop fighting to elect principled Republican leaders to every office in the land. So help me God.
Were those moans of astonishment?
A bit, yeah.
Like, what? I mean, he has almost 1% support. I can't believe he's leaving.
Look, it's the right call. I think he got out there. He made the points that he most wanted to make. He made an argument against Trump. He stood his ground on January 6th, and on the record of January 6th, as he should, in a righteous manner. And he's going off now because there is not a path.
It's, you know, again, Trump, you know, leaves all this in his wake. Yeah. As you know, anybody who's there behind him, you know, they all get left
well,
behind.
and I haven't seen that if he's taken shots at him. I'm sure he will.
Oh, okay. Well, this is interesting. I actually have news on that.
Okay.
So the Beacons.
You talked to Donald called you to trash
Beacons own
Mike
Alana
Pence.
Goodman.
Okay.
She interviewed Donald Trump, and now that Pence is no longer a factor, he actually said, "Well,
of course,
that's too bad. Too bad about Mike." But he said that you know it's you know now's not his time.
Yeah.
Also, that they had a good thing until the end. We all know what the end was. The end was that he didn't.
When he didn't overturn the election for him.
Certification.
By the way, Axios reports that Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Chris Christie have made the stage for the third debate. The requirements keep going up.
Did you mention Tim Scott?
I don't think Tim Scott has made the stage yet. And if he doesn't, of course, I think that would be a sign that he's going to be on his way out, one would imagine.
Well, I
he
mean,
told the guys over at Ruthless if there was not a strong finish for any number of these guys in the first 3 states that they have to call it quits.
Yeah.
So he actually put some metrics on that idea. So we shall see.
But I guess folks like Doug Burgum, because they have money, they're just going to hang around.
I mean, you could.
Right.
You could. I'm not sure it's good.
It's money well
if
spent.
you could.
That money would be better spent on a seafood tower.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever I think about
Well,
how
you can
money
take
can
us
be
out.
better spent, I always think
Do
seafood
it in.
tower.
That's
But
your metric.
That's my metric.
Number of seafood
Yes,
towers
yes,
one could buy.
yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, Joe Biden has earned a competitor
Oh, yes.
in Dean Phillips. So Senate Democrats were asked about this. Senate Democrats on Monday brushed aside Representative Dean Phillips' primary challenge against President Biden while questioning why the Minnesota Democrat is jumping into the race at all when Democrats are focused on keeping former President Trump out of the White House. I'm a strong supporter of Joe Biden. I think he's done more than any other president of my lifetime to grow the middle class, said Senator Debbie Stabenow. News of Phillips' campaign, which he launched over the weekend with an emphasis on primaries in New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Michigan, has been greeted harshly by Democrats by and large. Some are concerned that he could place a spotlight on the president's weaknesses and splinter some of his support ahead of what could be another nail-biter of a general election.
Well, it's the only serious Democrat now facing, because, as you know, Robert Kennedy Jr. is now an independent. And according to those polls, it now looks like he's stripping more votes away from Trump than he would be from Biden.
Unsurprising, because it is Trump voters tend to be, or there's a part of the Trump coalition that is low propensity voters who have high distrust of institutions, earned. I often agree with them on that distrust. And many of the Trump-leaning influencers were fans of RFK's message for the distrust reason. Again, I understand why. I don't think he's the most honest broker of those discussions.
Right.
And I, in general, have a rule against Kennedys. But it doesn't surprise me that that's pulling from Trump's pile at this point.
Yeah.
So Dean Phillips would presumably pull from Biden.
And Biden is not going to be competing in New Hampshire in the primary, right?
Well, and this is the thing. The question to me always was, there's got to be somebody who's different enough from him and ambitious enough from him, and ambitious enough that they would like to grab those just open field moments.
Yeah.
Open field
particularly in
moments.
New Hampshire. And again, because this is the dispute of who has the first primary.
Right. And so you can go and serve those constituencies and talk to those voters, and Biden has left it open for him to do so.
You get out there and then you get, take the pulse and see how you're going to do.
Meanwhile, the Gavin Newsom, who we sometimes look at a guy who might be warming up in the bullpen.
Oh,
to
literally
take over,
in this case.
Should Biden go away? I don't know. I don't know in what sense I mean that.
Yes.
He's been over in China on
That's
a tour.
Right. He has been. It's a goodwill trip.
Well, how nice. Obviously, goodwill trips don't come with a lot of criticism of the authoritarian regime one is visiting. And so he's done a bunch of palling around.
All right.
Hanging out with Xi Jinping.
Oh, he's very warmly welcomed. He is considered by Xi to be like a friend of China. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you want to talk about, the important things you have in common, like, telling people what restaurants they can go to and sealing them into their homes. The things that
sealing
you're
them,
into.
yes, exactly.
The things you're into. Newsom would be like, fact check, we didn't actually seal them into their homes. And going to fancy restaurants and feeding oneself.
Yes.
While your citizens are suffering. That is the things they have in common. But while he was there, and also the media here is dutifully just stenographer for all of this Chinese propaganda as he's there, he played some pickup ball.
He did.
With some young children.
Not teenagers. They're like little kids. They're
These
little
are children.
kids.
He's a very tall man. Let's play a little clip from that. That was not for anything good, was it?
Yes. What happened? He was driving down the lane.
He's driving the lane on some 7-year-olds, and he hard fouled one of them.
Yeah.
I think to be fair to that kid, I think he set a screen and it wasn't bad.
I think his feet were firmly planted too.
Hard fouls this kid. They go down on the ground, and he, in an attempt to sort of cover over this
That was
mistake.
an offensive foul. Yeah.
grabs the kid in like a friendly wrestling-ish move to like
Yes.
put him back on his feet, but before he does so, he kind of spanks him on the butt.
Yeah, and okay, so here's my thought.
You have thoughts? Good.
Yeah, I have thoughts. It reminded me of two movie scenes. One is The Cable Guy with Jim Carrey, and it's an insane basketball scene. I believe with Jack Black, who's not playing. He's playing a foil in this, so he's playing actually a jerk. And then the other scene is from a wonderful movie In Good Company with Dennis Quaid and a very young Scarlett Johansson. And he's trying to be competitive on the court, but the other fella, Clark, I forget his last name, from the Avengers movies, he's there and he's super competitive. And again, playing to win, and they get carried away. And so I think that Gavin Newsom has that same mentality, and then he realizes it as he plows into this kid, and then he overcompensates. So he grabs him, goes, "Oh wait, I got him." They roll around together on the court.
Sometimes the cover up is worse than the crime.
It is totally worse than the crime, because then he does the little pat on the butt, as you said, and then he grabs him again in a very uncomfortable looking embrace. He didn't want to let go of the kid.
Let's not.
Yeah.
Let's not. Let's just take the L. When you
Yeah,
fall,
that's
just
it.
take that. You got to be
Whoops.
like, dang.
Sorry, I played a win.
I look a fool.
No, I mean,
my
he should
bad.
say, look, he should just say, look, when it comes to China, I will be tough. I will not get bullied.
Or you could congratulate this 7-year-old for just owning you. That's what I'd do. He really broke my ankles, this 7-year-old Chinese kid.
He could not get out of his embrace fast enough, the kid. You should see, it's like, I gotta get out of here.
He learned boundaries while he was in his SEAL department. Okay. One last clip, because Gavin Newsom definitely will not have to come to the rescue for Joe Biden due to this assertion that Kamala Harris, the Veep, made on 60 Minutes just this week. Let me play the first bit of this clip.
Because Joe Biden is very much alive and running for re-election.
So don't worry, guys.
Yeah, not like Weekend at Bernie's, because we all had our suspicions. It's like Weekend at Bernie's, but no, he's very much
alive and running. So if you needed reassurance, there it is. Okay.
It's like with Mao, and it's like with Brezhnev or Shchenko, and in the Soviet Union, you didn't know how long they'd been dead until they announced it. I shouldn't say that, but okay.
Controversial.
Yeah.
There was some controversy this past week. A little viral clip of a young woman who's 22, I believe, and she's got her first job out of college.
Yeah.
And she went viral with this clip about her job, and I wanted us to talk about this.
I know I'm probably just being so dramatic and annoying, but this is my first job, like my first 9-to-5 job after college, and I'm in person, and I'm commuting in the city, and it takes me fucking forever to get there. There's no way I'm gonna be able to afford living in the city right now, so that's off the table. Like, fucking duh! If I was able to walk to work, and it'd be fine. I'm not, so it literally takes me, like, I leave here, like, I get on the train at 7:30, and I don't get home till, like, 6:15 earliest, and then, like, I don't have time to do anything. I want to shower, eat my dinner, and go to sleep. I don't have time or energy to cook my dinner either. Like, I don't have energy to work out. Like, that's out the window. Like, I'm upset. Oh my God. Nothing to do with my job at all, but just like the 9-to-5 schedule in general is crazy. Being in the office 9-to-5, like if it was remote, you get off at 5 and you're home and everything's fine. But like, I'm not home. It takes me long to get home, and like people that drive to the office, like you don't get off at 5. And I know it could be worse. I know I could be working longer, but like I literally get off, it's pitch black. Like I don't have energy. How do you have friends? Like how do you have time to like meet like a guy? I don't know. Like how do you have time for like dating? Like I don't have time for anything, and I'm like so stressed out. And I'm also getting my period, so that's why I'm all emotional. But like, am I so dramatic? It's fine.
Okay.
That was the best part. Now I think our listeners will get that. I was going to, she's so busy. I was going to quote the great Jesse the Body Ventura, whose famous phrase, the former governor of Minnesota and actor, whose famous catchphrase was, "I ain't got time to bleed," but she does. So I guess, is that bad? Am I going to get cut for that one? I don't know. Okay.
I'm not even sure.
So Jennifer looks like she just passed out. She's looking down.
So,
there. Okay.
A lot of people are clowning on her. She went very viral for this clip because they say, oh, this kid just learned what a 9-to-5 is. She's so spoiled. She has no idea what life is all about. Are you clowning on her or not? Vic?
Mixed.
Okay.
Kind of mixed. I have mixed emotions after watching the video because she's really cute. I will say this. COVID, not the virus, but our stupid policies, really did a number. Not just on kids, but college kids and people entering into the workforce.
Right.
Because in their world, you can spend a whole day in your pajamas and get paid.
Yeah.
Whether or not you had a job in some cases. And I'm seeing this in a lot of places. And the idea of coming in every day is like, what? Let alone
Why?
for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Now, her situation, of course, she's right. It's not 9 to 5 and then the rest of the time is free because there's a lot of travel involved.
Yeah. Because she's in New Jersey and commuting to Manhattan.
She probably takes the path. And that's life for a lot of people. And
Right.
when you are young, maybe even if you're old, that's just the way life is, right? And so the joking part of me is like, well, if there was another me, I would take care of her. She'd
Right, you
come
would
home, the apartment would be clean. I'd have the dinner ready, candles, the whole thing. She can just relax. This is what I'm going to say, relax in quotes. Is
Right,
relax.
right, yeah.
But the serious part of me is I think about, my mother when she was young as a nurse working 2 shifts.
Right.
That's 2 8-hour shifts,
Mm-hmm.
so you get maybe 5 hours of sleep. My father, he worked at 2 hospitals as a doctor when he was starting out, and one was in Manhattan and the other one was like in Long Island, and that commute was brutal.
Yeah.
And he used to talk about having to smoke cigarettes to keep awake and bumper to bumper in the tunnel and seeing like the heat rise, And then even when we went to New Jersey for a couple of years, he still worked 2 hospitals. He worked at Community Memorial, and then he worked at Bayshore for people in New Jersey, if you know that. That's a big distance to go from Toms River to Red Bank, and let alone office hours. It's a lot. If I can go back in time, I wouldn't have problems with those hours because I tell kids this all the time, you're supposed to work the long hours when you're younger, and when you get older, it is supposed to get easier, hopefully, and not worse. In terms of workload, I mean, you're always going to be busy, but in terms of when I was at the Standard, as easy and wonderful as it was, we would sometimes close a magazine 4 a.m. on a Saturday.
Right.
Half your Saturday is gone now, and you have Sunday, and then back to work on Monday again.
Yep.
This is what you're supposed to do. 12-hour days, for folks, for example, I know at the Journal, I was told it was 8 to 8, and sometimes you come in on Saturdays. That's the way it is.
Yeah. So I think, first off, I am against the crying selfie video format in general.
Oh, right.
I don't like it as a
It's
rule.
too much sharing. It's too much sharing.
However, she cops to probably being a little dramatic, so I appreciate that from
and
her.
she admits why.
Yeah, which good self-awareness, right?
I gotta give her
Ladies,
points.
sometimes we gotta be like, my feelings are real, but they might not be this pitched in reality. So she cops to being a little dramatic. I appreciate that. It gives me some sympathy for her. I do think that flexibility in work life is one of the good things we got out of COVID. Now, people take it too far.
Yeah.
But I think the ability to have more flexibility is helpful to people, can be healthy for families, can help with the work-life balance that makes it harder and harder for people to have families because the birth rate not so good right now. Because she says rightly, she's like, imagine if you had a kid or a pet doing this many hours away.
Doesn't she mention in the video, like, how am I supposed to meet anyone or dating? Isn't
Yes,
she mentioning that?
and so this is another thing. I think it's good to recognize at a young age that this is not floating your boat.
Right.
That you want to have other priorities. Now, the key is, and she's also good about noting that, like, this isn't about her job, which she enjoys doing, and she has a job in her field. She notes this in a follow-up video after she went viral. She's found a job in her field. She feels good about that, but she has to commute this long distance to get there. I think she's doing the right thing, and she needs to chart herself a course to a life that would make her happier, right? That might include dating intentionally, carving out time for that. Not you, Vic. Don't get excited.
Can anyone reply to her, by the way? Is that
She's
open?
shut down
Is that
replies, Vic. Her DMs are not open. But you can chart a course for that. So that's something I did, knowing I wanted to have a family and spend time with them. I charted a course and often took lower pay for more flexibility because I wanted to be around for my kids. So I think that's a recognition worth having. But to your point, Vic, when you have not a family to raise
Yes.
or a pet, and you're young and you're going into the city, that's a good time. That's a good time in your life.
Yeah.
Work those long hours.
Or just get takeout. You know, I mean, you're at the, you don't have to worry about cooking, you know, for like 4 or 5 people or whatever or more. And you're young enough that you could eat bad stuff.
Oh, eat terrible
You could eat
stuff.
terrible
And
stuff.
you don't have to work out that much.
Man, I missed that.
Now, she talks about her schedule from like 7 in the morning, 7:30 in the
It's a bad
morning
time of year. I
to 6
know
or
what she's
7.
saying, yeah.
I get that. I've done that before. My first job in D.C., I commuted from where I could afford
Dark and
on
then
the
it's dark.
metro
Yeah.
into the city, came back. But I would sometimes stay long after the normal work hours
sure.
because that's how I work. That was the time I worked
Yeah.
best. I liked being on my own in the office. There was a time in my career where I pulled an all-nighter basically every Thursday because I put together a video for the early days of YouTube.
I remember.
And I was the editor. And so I filmed it on Thursday and edited it all Thursday night and put it up on Friday morning. And this was something that I was perfectly capable of doing because you know what? I had a cat and a lot of time on my hands.
Yeah.
And it was worth doing because it helped me get to other parts of my career. One last question. Again, I'm mostly rooting for her. Why is she tired at 22 at 7 o'clock? Don't
Right.
be tired.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
You in Manhattan.
I know.
Go out.
Yeah.
I mean, Manhattan's not as fun as it used to be, I guess,
No.
but
That could be part of it too. You know, I mean, it's a different time. It's not the 90s.
you're not
yeah.
getting less tired in the future. I'll tell you that much.
I hope.
So live it up.
I hope I hope that men have reached out to her. I mean, nice men. Sorry, men. I'm sorry, that sounds terrible. But I hope a nice guy. You know, she's getting a lot of comments, right? And they're
I'm
saying,
sure she
"Hey,
is.
You know,
I'm
I'm sorry.
rooting
you're getting
for
over
her.
it." Yeah,
I'm
I'm
rooting for-
rooting for her too.
I also think, you know, if she has a lot of school debt, she says that.
Yeah.
A lot of these young people have not been set up for success because
Mm-hmm.
no one explained to them that the world wouldn't look like their college schedule or that things would change in this way or that maybe your in your field job won't pay the bills for your many school loans. So keep that in mind when you're going through school.
I loved when I was in my 20s. I loved coming to work at the Weekly Standard. You know,
we had so much fun.
We did, and it's weird. I mean, you didn't realize it at the time, but you did know at the time that the people you were with, all I knew is that they were fun. They were smart and they were fun. And it was, you know, David Brooks and Tucker Carlson and Andy Ferguson and Chris Caldwell and just all together. You know, it was a fun time.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
One of my I don't have a lot of career regrets, but if I were to do it differently, I probably would have stayed longer at the Weekly Standard because I was there.
Yeah,
you
you were there for brief.
at the end of that heyday,
Yeah,
and I
it was
moved
the end of the
on,
heyday.
and I probably should have made more of that time there.
You by the way, you helped me get onto Twitter.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, well,
I did that to several people.
I wouldn't have the 8,000 followers I have now if not for you.
I did. You know what? We're gonna no comment this one, but I also did that for Bill Kristol, and I did that for Charles Krauthammer. So Krauthammer's account is due to me.
You're just throwing it out there. It's just
I was just, you know what? Mostly, I was telling both of them, get these names so that no one takes them and pretends.
Yes,
to
no,
be
that's
you.
true.
But then you know that can lead to other things. All right, I think we got time for
Are you sure?
just the Halloween costumes, and
do-
we're gonna
do that.
save some stuff for you.
Wonderful.
Guys.
Yes.
Okay. Shall I reveal?
Go,
what we're
please.
gonna
Here we
read?
go. Drum roll.
Today, I have completed the construction of 7 more costumes because that is every member of my family plus the dog. Now, finding a themed costume that includes 7 characters is very difficult, particularly because my elder girls require that they be girls. They don't want to dress up as boys for Halloween anymore. I made them do that in 2020.
Sure, you did that with Tombstone.
For Tombstone, which is my favorite costume
It's a great
of
one.
all time.
It's a great one.
And I promised them that year that if they wanted to be girls, they could be girls in the future. So, this year, Into the Spider-Verse.
Wow.
Because there are 87
there's different kinds of different...
Spider-Men,
Yeah,
so we can do many Spider-Men. So I will be Miles Morales because I have the Jordans, thanks to my husband. My husband will be Peter Parker with the bathrobe.
Oh, okay.
Carrying, if you've seen the second Into the Spider-Verse, both of these movies are great. You should watch them. Carrying his daughter, who is Mayday, and she's got a little Spider-Man outfit. That will be the toddler. The oldest girl, Gwen Stacy.
Oh, wow.
She has Gwen Stacy hair.
Okay, yeah.
The second daughter will be Penny Parker, who is the anime-inspired Spider-Woman. Who else do we have? Oh, the baby is Spider-Ham, Peter Porker.
Oh, the Peter Porker, of course.
Peter Porker. And the dog is the radioactive spider.
Wow.
Now, I have spent a lot of time on this. Shout out to Steve because he was helping gather things and did his own costume, which is ready to go.
Yeah.
Today, well, by the time you hear this, we will have done this. I must take the children from school, put all the parts of the costumes together on them, get them outside while the light is still good, get them lined up for a picture. This is 6 people, 2 of them babies, 1 dog in a photo. Good luck to me. I have spent the morning making a Peter Porker hat for the baby out of a Spider-Man knit cap and mittens that I then took a toilet paper roll and hot glue gunned the mitten fabric onto it and put it into the hat. Now, is he going to wear this hat? Absolutely not. None of them love me enough to wear their costumes when they're that young.
If anybody can pull this off, it's you, with the help of Steve.
So we're going to attempt to get it on his head, make him sit there for a second, take a photo.
Take it fast.
I don't know if the dog's going to like his costume, but I spray painted it last night in the garage and got pleasantly high. I'm just kidding. But there were a lot of fumes.
So you didn't want to spray paint the dog?
No, I didn't spray paint the dog. That seemed a step too far, but the radioactive spider,
small stuff.
We bought the spider costume to strap on the dog, but it needed to be neon orange at parts, and it needed to be improved.
I'm sure the dog I love this.
And then the rest of it is just like Goodwill and pieces of other Spider-Man things.
All sort of stuck together.
And I love this, but I do think perhaps next year I will not do full family. Like, I need a break because I'm now 13 costumes in this Halloween. And that is probably
you might as well just
too
throw
many.
in like me and Kate while you're at it because we don't do costumes. You might as well.
You know what? Look, since I don't repeat costumes, but we do save costumes, which doesn't make any sense.
Oh.
I can pass off some of them to you guys.
Yeah.
Maybe our Christmas card will be Holly and John.
That would be good. That would be great.
Anyway, you'll see the picture should it come together.
That's right.
Perhaps it will be successful. Wish me luck.
We hope you all had a wonderful, pleasant, and safe Halloween trick-or-treating and you're listening to this, so happy All Saints Day too. That wraps up this episode of Getting Hammered. Remember, you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at Victorina Matus.
I am at MK Hammer on Twitter, at MK Hammer Time on Instagram. Please follow the podcast at Getting Hammered Podcast on Instagram or YouTube. You can watch us there. And is that all we got for today?
Just for today.
We're saving a couple things.
Yeah,
Actually, I was going to show.
You got a good one too.
I showed Jennifer this. This is for our YouTube audience. This is the list of things I have to assemble for my family for this costume. So everything's checked off by noon on Halloween. That might be the best I've ever done. Look at me, guys. I'll never perform my job that well, but I did take care of this. Okay. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for getting hammered responsibly. This has been a Nebulous Media Podcast.